it this way. Together we play. We are IMA. From the beginning till the end of this day, we move and we sway. Together we stay. We'll take your hand and help you through the mistakes. Whatever it takes, we'll find a brand new place. We'll join our hand in hands and then we'll fly till the end of the time, till our worries will die. We'll do it our way, the IMA way. IMA. It's a dream to be at our best. We fight on our own with no room for rest. It's a dream to be at our best. We fight on our own with no room for rest. And it's a legacy that we want to leave. Make them all believe there will be no grave. Turning white from the black, just like raising the flag. We'll do it our way, the IMA way.
I have seen IMA growing as a small city organization to a nationally recognized association.
As Team IMA, I'm dealing with a commemorative issue.
Indore Manager is a 20-year-old IMA publication. It carries articles.
As the theme says, work the talk, leadership now. I guess this time also we lived up to the benchmarks that we set for ourselves at IMA.
Now I'm a part of the team which manages the students. But I personally feel that joining IMA and those who join IMA as students or at any level get is excellent man management skills.
IMA for me is a pool of opportunities.
It's a live experience.
IMA has done a unique thing this year. It's picked up a very important concept which is so close to the minds and hearts of people, called the Nukkar Natak concept.
Is the animation going on in the Conclave. And that animation is not prepared by any professional organization. It's prepared by the students of Indore.
IMA is so different because we are developing the professionalism at IMA. We are trying to doing our own things at own, because we are not hiring the outsource agencies to do our programs and create an event.
We not only get world-class speakers in terms of Mr. Amitabh Bachchan or Mr. Charan.
We are trying to create world-class ambience and facilities at the venue this year.
So it's a big challenge for us to up the ante this year. I'm sure we are going to do better than what we have done over the last years.
There has to be a reason why people like Dr. Charan, Dr. Narayan Murthy, they all have associated with IMA.
It provides a fantastic learning and networking opportunities for local businesses, which is unmatched and unparalleled.
IMS International Conclave is the most awaited event for the students, academicians and industries.
IMA is all about Yariya. It's all about management ki Ras Leela, and it's all about creating dhoom each year in the form of events at the rate of perfection.
एक बरस में एक बार ही जलती होली की ज्वाला और एक बार ही लगती बाजी जलते दीपों की माला। दुनिया वालों किंतु किसी दिन मदिरालय में देखो कि दिन को होली रात दिवाली रोज मनाती मधुशाला।
To all the people in IMA, it would be incomplete if we do not say a big thank you. Starting with the students who come with all the vigor, the faculties who send the students and who come across to the EC members of IMA, to the sponsors and to various education institutes. A big thank you, and we see you next year.
Before we start the day's proceedings, I invite the dignitaries on the dais to light the ceremonial lamp, please. I now request our vibrant Ms. Ritu Grover to present welcome bouquet to Dr. Charan on behalf of this assembly. May I request the AV team to present the AND AV.
Move along, move along. We do this for you. There. And now we do this now, monsieur. Move that. Move the junk now.
I've got an idea.
Thank you. I now request for AV introduction of Dr. Ram Charan on the screen, please.
Dr. Ram Charan is a world-renowned business advisor, educator, author and speaker. He has been a consultant to top-notch companies like GE, Midwest Vaco, Bank of America, DuPont, Novartis, EMC, 3M, Verizon, Tata Group, GMR, Grupo, RBS and so on. He is also on the boards of various companies like Hindalco, MR, Austin Industries, Tyco Electronics, Fisher and Porter, etc. An MBA and a doctorate from Harvard Business School. Dr. Ram Charan has served on the faculties of Harvard and Northwestern University. He has taught for 30 consecutive years at GE's famous Crotonville Institute and is the recipient of the Bell Ringer Award and the Best Teacher Awards at Wharton and Northwestern. Dr. Ram Charan is an accomplished author too. Among his many books, Execution, co-authored with Larry Bossidy, the former CEO of Honeywell, has been on the global bestseller list. IMA feels highly honored in conferring this most valued and influential personality with the Global Excellence Award. We request Dr. Ram Charan to please come onto the stage and accept this award, as well as share his valuable insights on this year's theme. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to welcome the most influential consultant alive, Dr. Ram Charan.
Friends, now we come to the award and citation presentation. For that, I invite India's former ambassador and foreign secretary, Dr. N.P. Jain on the stage, please.
भाइयों और बहनों, बाहर कोहरा है, लेकिन अंदर बहार है। कल भी कोहरा था, बहार फैलाने आए थे अमिताभ बच्चन, सुपरस्टार सिने जगत के। आज हमारे बीच में हैं ग्लोबल कॉरपोरेट वर्ल्ड के ध्रुव तारे, द स्टार विच इज शाइनिंग ऑल द टाइम, great global guru of corporate governance, Dr. Ram Charan. Friends, let us give him a warm applause and a fitting, affectionate Indore style standing ovation. Please sit down. जब रामचरण जी, भले ही आप अमेरिका में बस गए और 30 वर्ष से पूरी दुनिया में छा गए हैं, आपने आपकी मातृभूमि भारत का नाम सारी दुनिया में रोशन कर दिया है। वी आर प्राउड ऑफ यू। जब भगवान राम वनवास गए तो भ्राता भरत ने उनकी खड़ाऊं रखकर भारत के सिंहासन पर राज किया। हमारे रामचरण साहब तो केवल रामचरण लेकर अमेरिका गए और वहां से दुनिया के पूरे कारोबार की कुंजी पकड़ ली। हनुमान जी सही इलाज की जड़ी बूटी के लिए पूरा पहाड़ उठा कर लाए, लेकिन हमारे रामचरण साहब का करिश्मा ऐसा है कि जहां इनके रामचरण पढ़ते हैं वो उद्योग निहाल हो जाता है। यदि आपको इसके बारे में पूछना है तो आप पूछ सकते हैं रतन टाटा से, आप पूछ सकते हैं कुमार मंगलम से, आप पूछ सकते हैं जैक वेल्श जी, चेयरमैन ऑफ जीई, या इवान साइडनबर्ग जो वेरिजॉन के चेयरमैन हैं। Once I asked a consultant the secret of his flourishing consultancy. He said, I look at the client's watch and tell him the right time. यही राज है हमारे ग्लोबल गुरु रामचरण जी का कि वन मैन सीईओ कंसल्टिंग इंडस्ट्री का, क्योंकि डाउन टर्न के समय भी कॉरपोरेट वर्ल्ड अपनी घड़ी का समय भी ठीक से देखना भूल गई है, तो रामचरण जी उनकी घड़ी नहीं देखते, उनका चेहरा देखकर ही उनके मर्ज की दवा दे देते हैं। Dr. Ramcharan's Guru Mantra to CEOs the world over is that your future rests solidly in your own hands if you grow the capability to spot and seize the opportunities as they arise. Growth is all about staying relevant by constantly improving and keeping up to speed with the changing world around you. Dr. Ramcharan has carved a niche for himself as a candid, thought-provoking, and result-oriented friend, philosopher, and guide to leading industry and business corporations across the world. He has exhibited an uncanny knack of focusing on core business problems and offering actionable solutions. We are very keen and looking forward to listen to his words of wisdom. May I now request Avi to give the formal citation presentation, and thereafter I request the current members of the Board of Directors of IMA to join us on this stage for the award ceremony to honor Dr. Ramcharan with IMA Lifetime Global Excellence Award for his unparalleled contribution to corporate governance and showing the way to leadership now, work the talk, the theme of this conclave. Thank you.
Friends, in today's difficult time, we need far-sighted man leader with macro vision, having absolutely clear thoughts on business process, with a periscopic vision of what is lying ahead, what is going to come. And we are fortunate to have Dr. Ram Charan, who has all such qualities and many more. We thank you for accepting this award, and I invite you for your acceptance speech and address to the audience, please.
Good morning. Let's hear it. Good morning. You ready to go? First, this is my first time here in my life, and I am deeply touched with your very warm welcome. I go to many countries, many cities. This is the best, most warmful reception I have ever gotten. It is going to be in the memory so long as I live. You are a learning society. You make a great contribution. You have leaders in this room who are absolutely great, winning in the marketplace. Today, I'm fortunate to have this chance to communicate a few ideas that I have learned over 50 years across the globe. Many of them have come when I was here in young age. They got more matured, they got tested, and many more I learned from the leaders in India and outside. Before I go, is my voice coming out clearly? And my purpose in life is, when I take these sessions, I like each of you to take two things home and practice, practice, and practice. No athlete ever becomes a champion without practice. They build habits. They become instinctive. We learn a lot of things, but we need to choose what one thing or two things you're going to practice, make it instinctive, make it experiential, make it intuitive. When I do these things, I like your permission that we do not just a monologue, we work together. I know you had a fantastic party last night. I love Indian vegetarian food. Believe me, I overate last night. It's so good. But we come in the morning and we work together. I also want you to know I don't use PowerPoint. Dialogue, it creates, goes at it. I'll take a couple of minutes to talk, then we'll do some exercise. Then I'm going to give you a list of things that I have crystallized, working over the word, to leadership now, work the talk. The 2 or 3 minutes I want to take are simple. You have heard zillion times. Leaders dream, leaders have vision, leaders energize people, leaders are resilient in crises, leaders set a course for the future. Have you heard all those things before? How many times? How many books? How many articles? I'm not talking about that. You've seen it many times. It's going on for centuries. But there's one thing about leaders, and that is no nation ever got built without leader. I go to Singapore, 1969. Everybody telling me this country will sink. No material resources. I go on the television, give a speech, and I say, this nation has a leader And it will, in time, become the Switzerland of Asia. It is. Its average income per capita is $44,000 a year. Malaysia is less than 20, had all the resources. No company ever became great without leadership. But there's one thing about leadership, and we seem to forget it. While we have visions, discipline, rigor, energizing, communicating, leaders deliver results. Correct? That's half the loaf. What I observed, and I asked this question, there are companies that last 100 years. There are companies that disappear in 10 years. There is a company today, family-owned, that's 400 years old. It is. So I asked a question, and I don't mean a family restaurant. I mean a company. So I asked the question, why this is so? And the question is very simple, and so is the answer. Leaders deliver results, but they also build the capabilities, people capabilities, that will deal with the future. Those are the great leaders. They build capabilities, they build people for the future that will deal with the future, deal in a proper sense, deal positioning, building, influencing the future, be able to take care of the crises. And that's what's different about those. So as I began to prepare for this session, and Mr. Birla was very kind to call me and say that I'd like you to do this, and I'm very privileged to have him give me the time. So I developed a few things. To do that, I'd like you to talk to each other, just pair in twos. Is that okay with you? And I want you to think about two questions. Take two questions down and talk to your neighbor. And I'm going to tell you why I'm doing this. It's not for here. This is just a sample. I'd like you to go back home and practice it. Everything I'm going to tell you, I did not invent, but I was allowed to observe in real life. So please take these two questions down. Question number one. Think of 3 business leaders. They may be in your company, some people you know, but business, in companies. Think of 3 who actually not only create a vision, they work the talk. Just think, imagine those 3. I don't have to know the names. They could be anywhere, but have some knowledge about them. It's the second question I'd like you to spend time on. And that is, what 3 things they do habitually, instinctively. What's your observation of those 3 things they do? Okay? So please take 3 minutes, talk to each other. And I was told that I can use the parliamentary system here. If you don't like your neighbor, feel free to move. So take a few minutes, please, and think about 3 people and what they do. Okay, and you too, you look at your professors. You say, what they do, how do they do, okay? Go to it. All right, let's take a couple of minutes. Let me hear your sounds. Talk to each other, let's go. Okay, nobody's going to be offended. Think of 3 people. Okay, do that. Talk to each other, let's hear it. You guys do it too. You know somebody in your family who does it, okay? Think about that. get me a hand microphone? A hand microphone. Yeah, he's getting this from me. No, yeah, good. Thank you, thank you. That's good, thank you. Oh, good, thank you. 2 more minutes. Talk to each other, please. Talk to each other. Listen to each other. Very good, very good. You're working hard. Working talk, working hard. Okay, how many of you chose 3 people? Raise your hands, please. How many of you chose 3 people? Very good, you're very collaborative here. Okay, give us one idea, please. This is what we call in teaching, find your students. Go, tell us one. No, just sit down, just tell quickly, I'll repeat.
Sorry, what do you want me to do?
The second question, what do they do?
Out of all the 3 leaders, the business ethics which they follow, the clearly defined do's and don'ts, and lead by example.
Just a second. How many of you had, this is a very, very important item, and I'll give you examples. The gentleman used the phrase clarity. Clarity. Clarity is 10,000 IQ points. If I just leave you right now, just one thing, of course I'm not going to leave you. And all of us practice clarity. You're going to be working the talk. Clarity is 10,000 IQ points. We do not teach that in the schools. Am I clear? I'm going to give you examples of these real ones. That was very helpful. Give us something here.
Sir, I have 3 things that they do institutionally. Strong vision, they walk the talk.
Yeah. Because leaders get things done. They define clearly what is to be done, but they get it done. To secure commitment of those who are going to do, they need to know the reason why. Reason why. That requires knowledge of the people who are going to execute. These things, ladies and gentlemen, are simple. Simple things are very hard. Anybody ever seen people who make simple things complex? Leadership, who work the talk, they make complex things simple. You have to work at it. Here, faster thinking is not much help. Clear thinking is of great help. Working with the people, getting their commitment, telling them why, getting them to see the why. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes resilience. It takes determination, what that is. And I'll give you examples of that. Give us one from here. A different one? Yes?
I think involving the team, profit sharing and like inclusive growth, something of that sort.
The third one is that you want to set the environment where you have inclusion. And then various kinds of rewards that people think are fair. That's the basic part of your equation. What do we have here?
I think work ethic is most important.
Which one?
In terms of making the team work with it.
Making the team work. Very good. Now, if I did not ask my young people here, I will be a real miss, isn't it? So somebody's going to tell me here, there are young people here. Yes. Take that. What's your...
So what's the question?
What was the question? No.
Including everyone.
Including everyone. Very good. Okay. Could you put my slide there up, please? Somebody had a slide there. Put that little piece of paper. I'm going to take you slowly. I'm going to suggest to you very few things. I'd like you to practice. Can you read my handwriting? Anybody see the first phrase? Let me give you some examples. This one is the hindsight. Then I will give you a foresight. And my purpose of the examples is not, they were great leaders. The reason I choose examples, because you know them, and I can explain, and I'm privy to them. In 1976, either Bill Gates or Steve Jobs said, computer on every disk. Anybody remembers that? Computer on every disk. Is that clear? It may be impossible, but is that clear? And if it were to be true, could most of us see what it meant? No, whether it happens or not. But when it happens, you can see it's measurable. It's clear. But do you think it happened because one day he was having a shower and the idea came out? He used to work at it. Intuition. Yesterday, the CEO of Tesla announced. Anybody heard of Tesla? Tesla is the designer, manufacturer, pioneer, or whatever, of a battery-powered car. Everybody should kind of get it. He wrote a paper some 10 years ago that we can have a battery-powered car. Diffuse, no clear. Yesterday he announced that he would have a lower price, which he defines, I don't have it, battery-powered car in 3 years. Is that clear? He has the price points, I just don't have it. He has it. Is that clear? 3 years, lower price, which is price points. You'll be there 3 years. If you're going to work the talk, should you have the clarity of the talk? But there's one more thing. have a computer on every desk is clear. Is it also specific? Tesla. We will have a car, lower price, which he has the price points. In 3 years, is that specific? Is this line clear? Can you practice it? It's hard. It's very hard. It's not intellectual brilliance. It's not your IQ is beyond the charts. In my life, the God allowed me to work with people who were not the most brilliant, but they were successful leaders. And I kept asking, what is it in them? And I've ignored the word luck. I can't produce luck, but I can learn something from them. And that is, they are thinking. Thinking is not enough. Converting the thinking into what they want to accomplish. Clarity and specificity. How many of you have heard of Airtel? Bharti Airtel? How many of you use it? Bharti? All of them. So I began to look into it. And I've been giving the stories about Sunil Mittal. And I was told in 1991 or so, nobody heard of him. Is that fair? And I know for sure, because I talked to him for research, that he was selling some instruments, some kind. And one day he found out the government of India has stopped letting people import those instruments. Now how do you feel? You give up? Because it evaporated overnight, as he said. Do you give up? Or do you have faith, courage, resilience in you to find another clarity, another specificity? So he gets 2 licenses or somewhere. And it's very clear at the time. Watch the word very clear. It's not how bright you are. Brightness helps. It's very clear that he needs to build a national network. The government only allows at the time 2. But building national reach, is that clear? Is that specific? Difficulties? Huge. And by the way, what kind of competitors he had at the time? Were they big houses? But also big houses? Did they have pull in the government? And now, when you say build the national network, on the second part, I was told, is to reach as many subscribers as one can. Is that correct? At least those 2 things I know. And I'm saying, look at the clarity, look at the specificity. Now, it could have been impossible. It could have been derailed. It could have been totally bust, could it not? But is the talk specific and clear? So before I take you further on this, can you practice this? You got to practice it. Please note, I'm allowed to see my Indian friends in America, in other places. I try to coach them. I've tried to save a couple of those because the boards call me up. And they say, put some sense in the gentleman, we'll make him a CEO. I go to their house, sit with the wife and children, try to give them the counsel as a countryman. I say that in Hindi, so they get it. It's not how bright you are. It's how clear you are. I do want to say I'm not against brightness. I'm all for it. In the boardroom in America, clarity matters. In getting commitment of people, clarity matters. In giving them reasons why it matters, it matters. You are bright, you're fast thinkers. Don't wear that on your sleeve. If you get to know Kumar Mangalam, if you get to know Ratan Tata, they don't talk fast. You can see their recordings in the meetings. I attend those meetings. They do not talk fast. Whereas some of their subordinates talk very fast. Talking fast is not at a premium. Clear? Am I specific? Practice it. Now, so we go back. Computer on every desk. This is hindsight. I'll take Sunil Mittal in a minute. I'll come back to the question. It's not audible? Somebody help me coming out. Is that it? Is that it? Thank you, thank you. Go down, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. A computer on every desk. This is hindsight. But if you were working on it, you got to see, work with your people. Somebody said inclusion. Work with people and say, what will it take to make that happen? Is that a good question? You may not have the good answer. It may be terrible. But you ask the question, what will it take to make it happen? And different people, different answers, isn't it? If you're going to make something on every desk, what questions you need to ask? So I just suggest some. The first part is, who's going to use it? Is that a question? Who's going to use it? Anybody heard of the word customer? Anybody heard of the word customer? Who's going to use it? Isn't that a simple question? And by the way, I forget these things. I should tell you one thing. And that is, no question should be more than 15 words. Practice it. It will force you to think more clearly. No question more than 15 words. Practice it. So in that case, who is going to be the customer? What's the second question? What is he going to do with it? Why should he use it? Isn't it? Third question. What is the customer be willing to pay? And those computers are going in 10 million, 15 million, 5 million. Hey, nobody's going to have a computer at 15, 20 million. Isn't it? And the last question, how would the customer buy it? And how would you maintain it? And who would design it? It's a set of 6 questions. Aren't they simple? How difficult is the answer? Isn't it? Now, when you look at that way, you took your talk, right? Took your talk. And then by asking questions, did you create some tasks in your mind? Who are going to buy it? Do we have to assign some task to somebody? Isn't it? Why would somebody use it? Do we need to find some answers? What will they be willing to pay? Find some answers? Clear task? Isn't it? How would they use it? How would they buy it? And a brilliant question that Steve Jobs asked is, how would you maintain it? Isn't that simple questions? But does it require people? Does it require for the leader to give them the reason why? It's not just money making. The reason. What does it do to the life of the people? Anybody recalls in the old days, maybe it's still going on here, we have stacks of paper for zillion years in the ministries. Isn't it? Can't find the records for real estate. Now, so I repeat myself. I'm clear and clarity and specificity. Okay? That's at 50,000 feet. I'm now going down by asking questions. Can you see me? I chose 6 questions. You can choose 7 questions. You can choose 5 questions. You can choose 10 questions. And by the time I take these questions, do you see in working the talk how we're going to do this execution? And by the way, could we fail in the answers of some of those questions? Could we not? We could. But by creating those questions, I have now created tasks. 3 of you do this, 3 of you do this. You're the right people. Let's pull together, let's drive it. We may fail, it can happen. Am I working on the talk? Am I working on the talk? Practice it. I didn't invent that. My work with people like Welsh and others, I could see how they were working. I go to him for 2 hours. And he said, you sit down, I'll write on the flip chart. He said, you talk. I said, yeah, you really want that? You know how he is, how big he is. He said, you sit down. Yes, sir. And then he takes those ideas and take them from 50,000 feet to 50 feet. Claro? Clear? So, do you see number 2? Are the priorities clear in that case? The example I gave you. Let me take you through foresight. And I pick Bharti Airtel because it's in India. In Brazil, I'll pick something else. In Angola, I'll pick something else. So Sunil goes from 2 circles as the idea to build a national network. And to do the national network, you only have 2 choices. Buy somebody or create alliance with somebody. You're not going to build. Is that clear? Number 2, buy somebody or create alliance with somebody. Clear? And his leadership comes through to build the network. But he also says, I want to be having the largest number of customers on my network. That's clear? So what's the work to get the largest number of customers on the network? That's the talk. What's the work? Find a way to get the people in the lowest income bracket to use the phone network. Is it clear? Did he do that? He do that? So, what the price has to be? It has to be low price. In all other countries, the price is high. Here is thinking with a clear talk. The work is to figure out how to get the price so low that a large number of customers use the network. When I talk like this, it's very simple. But when you, at that time, in the heat of the work, it's not that simple. By the way, how many times I've used the word simple? That is the characteristics of these leaders. They work at it. Simple, simple, simple. And so he doesn't have money. That's a fact. He wants this, doesn't have money. What does he do? He goes to various investment houses, asks for money, and they're putting their faith on him. Can he do this? To persuade them to give him money, they're looking, can he deliver the talk? Or is it just the talk? So I met the man, called me up in New York. I was doing my research. And he said, yeah. I went in. He's the CEO of Warburg Pincus, young man at the time. And I said, yeah, I funded Sunil. What do? He can deliver. So what makes you think he can deliver? He says, he would go over a truck, in our meat truck, personally, and look for roofs where he can put the antennas. He'll do it himself. Working the talk. Because you have to have the antennas. Go right over the truck seat. And he pulls that together. So he gets the money, but he doesn't have enough of it. Now what do? You use creativity. So one of his fellows comes with the idea that we invite the equipment manufacturers to put their equipment, put their money, become partners. And as my business grows, they take a predetermined formula out of that revenue. So he brought IBM, Accenture, Ericsson. They put the money, put the plant. They figure out a partnership arrangement. He gets going, gets the licenses, gets the joint ventures, gets the whole coverage, gets the largest number of customers. Everybody got it? Everybody got it? To do that for him, how critical is number 3? Am I clear? Let's go back. So about 3 years ago, I saw him in Bangkok at lunch. His brothers were there. And at the time, he has been thinking broader than India. He had bought Sri Lanka, he had bought Bangladesh. And he's thinking in a global game. So he was negotiating to buy MTN of South Africa. At that lunch, he has announced he will not buy it. Things didn't work out. Does he stop there, or is he clear to put more people on his network on a global basis? He does. He bought 21 countries of Africa, found the acquisition not quite the way he thought. I met 44 of his African managing directors. They are all native Africans. All. And they are all highly trained. People used to tell me Africa has no talent. That went out of my window there. I said, no, I know that they do. I went to Kenya, saw the people. I said, yeah. Competition, tough, Vodafone in Africa. Difficult times, I did. Does he give up or does he have resilience? He's now number 4 on total customers in the world. Can you imagine he could be number 1 one day? Can you imagine that? I believe so. Why do I believe? Because I have some advantage. In America, I have been in this industry for 40 years. I know just about everybody. I said, this leader works the talk. No compunctions. He will get his hands dirty. Find the right people. If the people are not right, he will change them. Have you been watching this? If the people are not right, he will change them. He's driving it. Am I clear on the first 3 items? Can you practice it? It's not a rocket science. It is harder than the rocket science. But if you practice it, just like the athletes, it will become natural for you. You all know Kumar Mangalam, when he took over the business, it was about 3 billion. Right? It's about 45 now. His announced goal is 65. I'm allowed to sit on his Hindalco board and I see it. Look at those first 3 items. Hindalco CEO, Debu Bhattacharya. I say this, I've never said in public. He's the best CEO. Why do I say that? Because I know the CEO of Hindalco's 3 largest competitors in the world personally. One of them was my student. I said, Hindalco outperforms under Debu's leadership than the other 3 companies. Other 3 are Rio Tinto in London from South Africa, BHP in Australia, Alcoa, United States. And you can see the performance, how it is done. So I like to take right people a bit more. And please bear with me on this because that's a major change for many in India. And you have to practice it. Mr. Birla, he doesn't show this, He's very passionate about the people side of it. He just doesn't show to the public. And he has put things in the company that are absolutely far ahead of most of the American companies. He's in the top 3 because I get to see the other 2. So in the right people, the right jobs, I'd like you to take these 3 items down, and I want you to practice them. Just like the athletes practice, these 3 items are central for you to increase your ability on the right people. The first item, define precisely. The key word is precisely, and I'll give you examples of that. What 3 things required in the job to succeed? Just 3 things required to succeed in the job. Define precisely. The key word is precisely. You got to give a lot of thought. Most people have 29 items. This question is not personalities. The question is, what 3 things are required to succeed in a particular job? And I'll give you examples. Number 2, what's the natural talent of the person? And I'll give you an example of that. The key word is natural talent. Raw talent, not degrees, not psychometric tests. I wonder how many cricket captains did psychometric tests of the players. Raw talent. And I found each of these billionaires who were nobodies in their early careers superb on those 2 first questions. People will say, well, that's natural. I say, yes, maybe, but you can learn it. You can improve it. Because I've seen it. I've done it. I took charge of coaching a young man in '93 in Ford who's been with me 20 years. Today he's COO of Ford, and everything goes right. He'll be the CEO by the end of the year. It's an apprenticeship. You learn, you go. And the third question, how good is the fit between the first 2? There will never be a perfect fit. The question is, how good is the fit? And can we tolerate the gap? Or can we help improve the gap? They're very simple 3 questions. They require weeks, months. Mr. Birla would wait until he gets the right person. He does. Because nothing overcomes the wrong person. It's not good for the person, not good for the job, not good for the organization. Many people know how to analyze numbers. Correct? You don't have to prove that you're very good in analyzing numbers, because you know you do. You got to prove you're very good on the third item. A mediocrity in third item is a disaster. Working the talk, it's on the third item. You have to have a courage to cut your losses. Cutting the losses doesn't mean firing the person. You find the right fit. How many of you heard of Yahoo? Say yes, you guys, for God's sake. Yahoo went through 4 CEOs between 2003 and 2012. That board was incompetent. Board got replaced. 2012 comes Marissa Myers from Google. How many of you heard of Google? Say yes. Yesterday, day before, she fired her COO. He came from Google. She knew him. And she figured out this one is not a good fit. Don't shed your tears. He will find a job. He's going out with $100 million in cash. He'll find a job. But having the wrong person is going to hurt many other employees. So let me give you examples of the first two. Anybody recalls about Nokia? It used to be largest in the world. It missed the boat. And that's done. But then Nokia recruited a gentleman named Steve Elope to come from Microsoft to be the CEO. Clear? And he made the arrangements with Microsoft. And he will commute from Seattle to Helsinki. And I've been to both places, see them. Now, when I take you through this, my purpose is not Nokia. Nokia is a vehicle to explain something that took me 10 years to figure it out. Because I kept watching how the hell these guys do it. And they never explain how they do it. And that has nothing to do whether you are a Welsh or a Sunil Mittal or Mr. Birla or Mr. Tata. Many of you have it. In this room you have it. It's just not explicit. So Elope comes in. He takes over the company. Steve Jobs is moving on those iPhones. Remember that? They're coming in. And Steve Jobs has to worry about cash, public relations, joint venture. So I'd like you to look at, would you put the slide back? Put the slide back, please. Yeah. Look at number 2. Company has cash, but it's declining. Company losing market share, it's declining. Its image is declining. Got it? So he comes at that time, and Steve Jobs is moving ahead. It's clear at the time. So what would you think his 3 tasks have to occupy his energy? If he's wrong on those 3 tasks, it's out. Is that an easy exercise or difficult exercise? It's difficult. Why difficult? It's easier to make a list of 29 items. Choosing 3 is very difficult. The purpose of choice of 3 means a large part of your attention, your psychological energy, your time is going to go to those 3. But you're being pulled aside by various interests to do 29 things. I'll just take you one. And one of them is your market share is declining, your image is declining, Apple is moving ahead. Should you have a priority to get the right product at the right time? Clear? Now, to get the right product the right time, if you think today, how long will it take for that product to be in the hands of consumers? It's not going to happen in one day. You can say 9 months, 12 months, 1 year. But you have to project that after 1 year, will Steve Jobs moved ahead further? So how critical is the task to define what that product will be so that the consumer prefers that over other people? Is that an important task? Does he have the right people to help him do that? Because the people who were there before him obviously did not do that. Am I clear linking the two? You saw the results, it didn't come out well. How many of you have used BlackBerry? Same issue there. Work on those, work the talk. Go to those clear, simple things. The answers are tough. That's what makes you difference. Am I okay on the first three items? Let me go to the fourth item. How many of you, especially in the front row, do operations reviews monthly, quarterly? How many of you do that? Engage in that. This reviews is very critical. Working the talk. How you conduct the reviews influences behavior. In some companies, people come to the review with a lot of fear. It's true. Isn't it? It's true. Some of you may have heard companies in America called ITT. I used to see this. He will have a very big table, 90 people at the table. He will insult those people when he's doing the reviews. And when you have that atmosphere, the truth does not come out. Clear? Fear. So in the reviews, I like you to change your reviews this way. I did not develop it. I saw it where people love to come to those reviews. I mean, they can't wait. The first part of the review is each business unit function prepares one page. Half the page, first part, is to tell the bad news. First half page, tell the bad news. Simple 3 bullets. Just get it out. Why? Compared to 10 years ago, we now have transparency. Bad news cannot be suppressed. It will come out. Make them honest. If they are honest, the truth, help them become more resilient. It's going to come out. So the first one is, first half page, what? 3 bullets, 2, 1. Tell us the bad news. Now, if you consistently say, no bad news, what do you think is happening? You got it? So you tell them, we know there'll be bad news. Why hide it? Have integrity, have ethics. And the latter half of the news, what did you do better than competition? Do not say, what did you do better compared to the plan? What did you do better than the competition? What's the purpose of the second question? You're looking at the competition. How does it relate working the talk? How many of you ever heard of the word competitive advantage? Don't you do that all the time? What's the evidence? Tell us. Or in the top half, it's the bad news. We did worse than the competitor. That's okay, but that's the news. In the latter half, we did better than competition. If it is true, it'll come out. Now, if you do this one page and help them see that you like it, what happens to their behavior later? The one I'm going to tell you is I learned from Jack Welch. And I now have 3 CEOs in the world who do it. 1 in India, 2 in America. After every review, he wrote a note which will be 3 to 5 sentences. Right away, within 24 hours. And he will write on that 1 idea that was good and 2 ideas that need improvement. It could be some other mix. But it was within 24 hours. Even I used to get it. I still have them. And people will frame them in their offices. So I meet people who worked for him, retired. I say, you seen Jack? I say, yeah. He said, tell him, he really made me a leader. I said, how come? He said, he gave those review cards after every review. What do you think the coaches do in sports? Do they wait for the year or do they give feedback right away? Why is it so difficult to give the feedback right away? Hey, I tell you this observation. Believe me, it takes less than 5 minutes to write 3 bullets. Because I've seen it. All right, you take 10. And then you see the progress. But never say, this was good, this was bad. So I'll give you an example. 2009, I'd gone to China, and executive committee of one company meeting there. I'd gone to make a presentation. And so the CEO had made me sit next to him, and the American guy running China made a presentation about Chinese business. I thought it was very good. I'm watching the 10 executives, looking at their faces. I thought they thought very good. So Alan Belda, the CEO, looked at the guy. He said, you know, Charlie, fantastic. So, you know, I'm not for those words, but I'm listening. And he says some good things. He's a Brazilian. And then he says, Charlie, the way you did the consumer analysis is the best I have seen. There are 9, 10 other executives. What was about it? The way you have done the consumer analysis, the best I have seen. Is that clear? Is that specific? Is it teaching the other 9 executives something? And then he made 2 more remarks. Practice this. Why? You are leader of people first, business second. This is a vehicle to develop people. Don't wait for the year-end review. They can learn from you. Give that specific, clear. This is good. This is not so good. You can improve. Am I clear on item number 4? Do I still have a few more minutes? Thank you. I cheat in these presentations, I guess. They said you can take more time. One of the things of leaders, every one of them that I work with, every one of them, has this habit. It's a habit, nothing intellectual. When I was writing a book with Larry Bassity, he had it. I wrote a book with the CEO of Procter & Gamble, he had it. I wrote a book with the HR person from GE, he had the same habit. I said, wait a minute, What the hell is going on here? So first tell you the habit, then I'll give you some more details. I talked to Alan Leffley of Procter & Gamble, writing the book, first call. He says this, this, this. I say this, this, this. He says this, this, this. I say this, this, this. And then he says, Ram, yes, sir. So, you will do this, this, this. I will do this, this, this. And we're going to have another call on such and such date. What's he doing? He is articulating very clearly, specifically, who will do what and when will we review it. So next call takes place, exactly 30 minutes. First question, what have you done? Second one, what he has done. Third one, what we're going to talk about today. Hey, he's not exactly a loosey guy. He's running an $80 billion company. We call that discipline. Do coaches require players to have discipline? Isn't it? Should you play a discipline? And the discipline is never, ever finish a meeting without a closure. Who will do what? It has to be clear, it has to be specific. So I had begun to see Welsh in 70s, but nobody knew him. And he was doing it then. And everybody said, oh yeah, that's so simple. You know, they ignored it. It's not intellectual. And then I began to see how he was progressing. What's the purpose of the closure? Is accountability. You cannot work the talk without accountability. Never. This is the vehicle. There are others. And you practice this. Even if it is a 5-minute call, if there is something to be done. But it's repeated. It's a habit. And then you say, what's the follow-through? Why leaders fail? I did this study of 82 CEO failures in America and Europe. I knew most of them who failed. And I couldn't believe it. Most people think they failed because of strategy. That's not so. It's just not so. They failed on number 2, number 3, and number 5. Wrong priorities. Didn't have the right people. Didn't like to follow through. Unbelievable. Now, these are not intellectual stuff. Intellect is required. You must exercise intellect. But you've got to apply the intellect. So, ladies and gentlemen, my memory is terrible. What was the first item I gave you? Somebody, where is my microphone? Somebody has a microphone somewhere? Microphone? Please look at your notes. What was the first thing I asked you? Hang on, take a microphone, hang on. Just go slowly so everybody can hear you.
Think of the 3 business leaders who not only create the vision but walk the talk.
Yeah, and that vision has to be clear and specific. Tell the reasons why. Get the people to see it. Even though it did not succeed as well, was there a clear vision on nano? Isn't it? Very clear. Practice it. Same gentleman. What's the second one? A little louder, yeah.
What 3 things they habitually do?
Did you see that as I took you through those 6 questions? Please take that down, 50,000 feet to 50 feet. Both ways. Your young millennials coming in, this group, they will talk 50,000 feet. You have to help them to go to 50. So I had a group of young students a couple of days ago, and the CEO in the room, excuse me, and I only had 20 minutes. And they're just finishing their MBAs part-time or something. So I took them through some very specific things that will help them in their first year as an employee. And so I asked them to see what they heard. They recited 50,000 feet and not the 50 feet. And their professors are in there. I have a request. Don't degrade your people. I hear it all the time. Education is lousy. They're no good. They don't. I said, no. Don't degrade your people. The raw material is there. It's up to us to figure it out. Get them to do that. So the second one was to go from 50,000 to 50 feet, right? What's the third one? Same gentleman? That's for people. Right in the right jobs. I gave you 3 questions, did I not? Right? One question was, be precise. What are the 3 requirements in the job? In the job. That you can apply all the intellect you want. It's very tough. I make my living for the CEO jobs. When I have the candidates come to me, I tell them, this job is not for you, but you will have a CEO job somewhere else. I'll help you. Oh yeah, thank you, you saved my career. Because no 2 CEO jobs are the same at a given point of time. But he does not know what the job is. And the board is lousy in defining that. And Mr. Birla is the best, if not the best in the world. I see him doing it. That's how a younger person can run so many businesses. Because his highest leverage is selecting the right people running the businesses. He knows what's required in the job. And then, what's the raw talent of the person? Okay, put it on, yeah. Tendulkar. What's his raw talent? He was a lousy captain. Was he a lousy captain? And don't make him a wicket keeper. You ruin the game and him. What's his talent? Raw talent. And if you recognize early, you polish it. You grow it. And there's a raw talent in him, isn't it? Otherwise, why would you score all this? Learn how to spot in a human being the raw talent. And then it's our job to develop it. Have this person's job to develop it. And then you're going to have a gap. Is this tolerable? Can we help it? If you're looking for perfection, stop working and start teaching. There is no perfection in the jobs. You're not going to have one. So I gave you some more things. What's the other things I gave you? Somebody help me. What's the next one? How good is the fit? Between the two, tolerate the gap or try to fix it. But you will never have perfect fit. At least that's my experience. What's the next item after that? No, that got it. Next one. Yeah. Reviews. So that's for senior people. Take the fear out. Take my advice. Take the fear out from reviews. I give you a tool. They create one page. Top half, tell us the bad news. If they don't tell the bad news, do coaching on the side. It's your integrity is more important. Isn't it? Bottom half, what have you done better than competition? So I'll tell you the last part of it. 2006, early 7, Bill Ford, a Ford Motor Company, decided to tell the board he cannot run the company. He needs to have a new CEO. 2 people from the board, one the CEO of Hallmark's Cards, one the co-CEO at one point of Goldman Sachs, took the charge. And they knew this gentleman from Boeing who built 777. Alan Mulally, I'd done some work for him in Boeing. They recruited him, he came in. And if you go to the 3rd floor there, they have a round table. They all get together at 7 o'clock in the morning, 5 days a week or 6 days a week. And he sat down and he said some nice things, so on, first day. And he said, we have to talk about the bad news because the company is declining to bankruptcy at that time. It's not an issue, it's declining to bankruptcy. And they say, yes, 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 yes. So he also asked that they create a chart. In the chart they show, could you put the slide back? Number 2, that for your next month, what are the 3, 4, 5 priorities? And then tell us with a red dot if it is not happening. Yellow dot somewhere in between, green is happening. Next week, that's what you're going to do. They all came in, he plotted the charts. No red dot. New boss. And he's very polite, very bubbly. He's 60 years of age, looks like 30. Very outgoing. And he's saying, I don't understand. This company is broke. And there's no red dot. Why do you think this was? Because the fear in Ford has been for 93 years right from the founder. So he looks around and then one person raises his hands like this and he says, Alan, this is the first red dot. And Alan applauses him. In the next meeting, all the red dots come out. Company has done very well. They all have tea every Thursday, regardless where they are, in one place. There are 240 charts every week. You can see red dots from a distance. It's followed through. Of his team, one got a better job elsewhere. One Bill Ford took out for non-business reasons. You can understand the language. It's the same intact team to this day. Same team. And the gentleman who raised his hand is now the COO. And if everything goes right, he will be the CEO. Your highest leader to work the talk is not a mystery. We have these 5 items. Could you put it back? Just 5. Pick one. Pick 2. Become the best athlete in the world. Energize the people, create their energy. make them a habit. We shave, it's a habit. We drive, it's a habit. These are also habits. You do me a great favor to give me this chance. It's a great society. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My God, what a perennial source of wisdom. I hope as if this should never end. Please, let's all rise up and give a stand. This address by Dr. Ram Charan is definitely going to change many lives and practices of many people. At least I know for myself. I know what to change in me. Thank you, sir. And we have heard him, and there's still hunger to learn more. As Arjun said in Gita, Bhuya kata traptihi shanvato nasti me amritam. Please keep saying, my desire is not satiated. So we now have the question answer session, and I invite Amit to monitor the session, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It was indeed a wonderful session. And let's get on with the question and answers, because this is the time that we interact and take out our inner feelings of what we want to have from him as well. So starting with the first question, sir. This comes from Mr. Mahesh Sharma. It says, what is the job of a CEO?
Feet level, then the specifics change on the conditions of the company, conditions of the context, conditions of global economy, what you inherit. At the 50,000 feet level is to keep the enterprise in tune with the speed of external change. At the same time, building the people power to take advantage of the change, deal with the change, and grow those people. If you create additional capacity, if you create additional financial strength, it will help you grow the business. How to do those things will vary from company to company, time to time. And those are the 3 guidelines to think about it.
Thank you, sir. I hope, Maheshji, it answers your question as well. So coming to the second question, sir. If you were to consult the Indian government, what would we advise the Indian government to change first, and how do they go about it?
Not to hire me.
So anything specific?
I do. And I have communicated, and some things have moved. There are short-term priorities right now. One of them is we cannot let the debt rating of India go down. Implications are horrendous. So my sense is that the governor of the Reserve Bank and finance minister doing all they can to make sure it goes the right way. That's first. The second thing is that, well, there are some other things attached, inflation, etc., so I leave that out. But the second thing is that there are a number of areas that we need to speed up to get their clearances. And they do not require legislation. So since the new finance minister came in as finance minister, I see a number of things being cleared faster now. And they will. But the most important part, no country ever got built, including America, without FDI. We don't have sufficient FDI. And we don't have in the right places. So I was taking through some of the automotive people. I took them through, and I said, and they did admit, to do what we need to do for FDI, we don't need legislation. So they need to change some priorities.
Sir.
But the most important is we have to regain credibility outside. Our credibility is still as difficult.
I got this question. I wanted to take it later, but since you've taken the point of FDI, so what is your take on FDI in retail? And now that it has got the nod from the government, how would it affect the smaller stores, the mom and pop stores in the next 5 years, once these companies start proliferating deeper into smaller towns?
The answer for that is after 5 drinks. There is no clear answer. My suggestion to the finance minister was, rethink priorities for FDI. These things will go on, one government here, one government there. I do want to tell you this though. If you were to go and get a Walmart or a Carrefour, they don't build logistical infrastructure. It's built by third parties. Why can't we get third parties to come and build the infrastructure? Is that simple? And no legislation required to do that. Because I know those companies. I say, hell, they don't build a damn thing. They have various kind of software programs and all. They're available. I'll get them for you. But the whole logistics part, they don't build. Somebody else does. Get them here.
So, thank you. Taking this, you have been advising many Indian corporates. How do you view?
Go ahead.
Some Indian corporates, and many now to come, sir. How do you view and compare Indian corporates and Indian leadership vis-a-vis Western corporates?
You see, that comparison is at a very high level. We got to go industry by industry, company by company. When I mentioned to you about Hindalco, I can tell you without any reservation, India has the best CEO. Why do I say that? Because I know the other CEOs. I've examined those companies. And the results show that. It's not just funny stuff. So you go one by one, one by one, one by one. In the outsourcing business, there is no peer for TCS. None. We have more than Tata's. We have Cognizant. That is why the CEO of Cognizant today is on the board of General Electric. It was very thorough investigation for us to think through, work through. I've known him for years. And I will tell you, he's highly regarded in the GE board. We have talent. We've got to find the diamonds in the rough.
Do we also need time, sir? We've just probably come to the point where we've got exposed, so it needs time as well. So that brings me to the second question as well, sir. Do you throw the person out or do you train him?
The most important part, pay attention to the person and see where this person's talent fit. That's leadership job. I've done in my life in America. A guy is failing. I go to the CEO. I said, look, he's failing. Let me take him off your hand. I call another CEO. And the guy flourishes.
And who would the guy be, sir, if you would not? Who would that guy be if you would like to share that name?
No, this is medium-sized company.
Okay, so we'll come to the other question, sir. You've consulted both Bharti Airtel and Birla, who owns Idea Cellular. While Airtel has grown phenomenally, Idea still has to catch up. They both are led by competent people, have resources, and perhaps are consulted by Dr. Ram Charan. Why the difference?
Well, I want you to know first is that I don't do consulting in the way you were looking at. My work in the Birla Group is not with the individual units. Very different thing. In the Bharti, I did a lot of teaching for them. But regardless of that, it is a journey. It's not a sprint. And they both can be fantastic. They got to see the competition, not just among themselves, but creating a market globally. Our share of the global market is little, it's nothing. Both can go and look at it. We have new things coming, huge market. So you got to go that way versus inward looking, look outward.
So where would you look outward? And that's where my question comes in here. You are the foremost management guru in the world. It is said, it is the lonely at the top. Have you ever felt the need to consult or confer with any other thought leader? And if so, who would that person be?
First, I want to give you a viewpoint about the lonely spot for the CEOs. There are some I know that don't feel lonely. And the reason is they have one or two people, highly seasoned, experienced, whom they use as a sounding board. 24/7. Comes up, pick up the phone. Totally confidential, never leaks out. They get a viewpoint. So those who feel lonely, they should not feel lonely. They should feel something along those lines. Now, on the other part is that I am not a guru. I'm not an academic, even though I had it, because I don't invent anything. My learning is from people like you. I will talk to some executive every single day, somewhere. I like to know what their issues are, what their problems are, how do we go at it. But I don't do academic research. What I took you through is nothing new, but it's crystallized, it's observed, it's seen successful, and try to make it so clear and simple, people can practice it.
So since we're talking of the gurus now, I think this question comes on the spiritual line as well. Sir, it says, we refer the article, the question asked by Mr. Anuj Kothari, and it refers the article as published by Mr. David Whitford in the Forbes magazine, which says, why would you not want to have any worldly possessions? And don't you think that having an anchor in life is as important as any other client?
I was heavily influenced in my high school by Sanskrit. I could read books at the time. That molded my life. It's very simple. Those who understand Urdu, khak se ana, khak se jana. English version, from ashes to ashes. I don't need anything. I never did. I live very modestly. You don't need to be pompous. So that bringing continues. And it gives me a lot of peace when I deal with the materialistic people. A lot of peace.
Wow. So we'll take the last two questions. One of your most famous work is on execution. Given the policy logjam in the country today, what would your advice be to the political? What would your advice to the political class be? This question comes from Mr. Ranjan Memani.
Yeah. See, the key is the leadership. So when I talk to people here, I'm not here, but talk to people here. We haven't had a leader carrying that out. So if you don't have a leader, it's not going to happen. But when finance minister came in July, somewhere there, 2000, he formed a committee. This committee did not exist, I was told. And that committee began to work together. They were all separate. And they've begun to clear some of those projects. And that's a part of execution. And that's where I would come out.
Thank you, sir. And this is the last question. And it probably covers the various aspects of businesses that surrounds us today and the way the businesses are changing. Many of the Fortune 500 companies consult with you. Some of the Fortune 500 companies consult with you. Have any of the new age corporations like Google, Facebook, Amazon, etc. consulted with you? And it's a two-part question, sir. Would the advice be fundamentally different?
Well, I have some. The best work is when a consultant can figure out what is the real need and be honest, can you help? No two have the same need. That's the difference. The difference in those group of companies is the speed of change is hyperactive. And the second difference is they need people who can lead highly intelligent experts. And that's different from the other companies. And they're struggling with it. They're struggling with it.
Thank you, sir. We come to the end of the question answer session. Can I request Mr. Vijay Goel to take it forward, please?
Thank you, Amit. We're towards the end of this session. Now I request our Mr. Naveen Khandelwal to propose vote of thanks.
It was destined that IMA's Golden Jubilee should be celebrated with Dr. Ram Charan, whose words are to be weighted more than gold. लफ्ज़ ऐसी चीज़ है जिससे लोग दिल में उतर जाते हैं या दिल से उतर जाते हैं, सर. और the thoughts you have built upon is the future of management, and your words are like the Dronacharya for today, which we all need today in terms of clarity and being specific, sir. I am blessed that Ram ke Charan Indore city mein pade hain, and who also believes that simplicity is a great virtue. So for you, two lines. कौन कहता है मैनेजमेंट गुरु बनने के लिए सजने सवरने की जरूरत होती है, सादगी भी कयामत की अदा होती है, सर. And finally, just to sum up the session, and obviously my friends sitting in the gallery would vouch for it, in just one word I'll say it was a wah session. Everybody. Thank you, sir.